All right, thank you very much for keeping it here on this channel. And I know it's not a regular face. My name is Nathaniel Atto, and I'm sitting in for Nana Ansakwao. Of course, it's for the purposes of the evening that I'm here sharing your company, and this will be over the next 1 hour. Well, over the next 48 hours, we're going to have the congregation of many nations, 32 of them in number, in Brazil for the biggest sporting event you can find anywhere in the world. It's the FIFA World Cup, and we're hitting the 2014 edition in the nation that is most successful at it, which is Brazil. Ghana is taking part for a third consecutive time, and there are many issues to discuss as we go through yet another campaign. It's cost Ghana a lot. The state has devoted a lot of resources. The people have also devoted a lot of your time and their effort and their criticisms as well, as the Black Stars prepared and made sure that they booked a place once again at the FIFA World Cup. Well, we're also discussing how well the Black Stars will do at this very big stage, and of course, whether or not they have the potential to go beyond the quarterfinal stage, which obviously was the very big, impressive achievement that they were able to stage in South Africa 2010, the very first World Cup to be hosted on African soil. This evening, I have with me one coach and a seasoned football analyst who's seen a lot on this dial or on this platform, specifically on the Joy Sports channel with the EPL broadcast, and he's also a broadcaster as well with Accra-based Radio XYZ. His name is Nana Ajiman, and everybody just loves him for his analysis, his in-depth analysis, and of course the look, the very constant look which he's worn for I don't know how many years. Also with me is one man who's admired a lot for the role he played in the Black Stars team, did many Nations Cup campaigns with the Black Stars, and also has left a very big mark in one area which is deemed to be problematic as we go into the FIFA World Cup, which is the defense. His name is Joe Addo, and he's a USA-trained footballer. Well, we'll be discussing all of the possible angles to this big Brazil 2014 story as told by the Black Stars of Ghana over the next 1 hour. And so I'd like you to be my guest as we look at all of this and all the possible angles. And of course, the very critical question about whether or not Ghana can make it into the semi-finals and beyond of Brazil 2014. Thank you very much for making this your preferred choice for all the big issues and all the personalities. We'll do a round of commercials and we continue the discussion straight away. All right, thank you very much for remaining here on this channel. Don't touch your remote control. The discussion is surely a must listen to. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
All right, now there's been so much talk about Ghana's involvement in the World Cup, and for you, I'm sure that this is a regular discussion. We've had this consistently over the last 12 years. Let me begin with you, Nana. Over the last 48 hours, we've spoken about the trial game, that the Black Stars played against South Korea. Of course, it was coming on the back of the first one that was played where, Ghana lost to Holland. There was a lot of hue and cry. It just looks like that result has calmed everybody down, right or wrong?
Well, it may have, because we're quite naive as supporters, aren't we? So, the Ghana Black Stars scores 4 goals and beats South Korea, and then we begin to think that everything is all right. But for me, I don't see it that way. I see that it's a good result, and I think it was a positive outcome. I'm happy that in the 6 opportunities we had at goal, we've put away 4. That's great. That's like 80%. I'm happy about that. But I see that there's a lot more to do in the team. And I'm not just talking about tinkering or fine-tuning. There's a lot of rough and rugged edges that are still there that really need filing down in order to make a finished product. There's not a finished product that we saw out there just a few days ago. Certainly not finished by any stretch of the imagination. And we've got about 4 days or so to ensure that we sort out all those rough edges and fine-tune the whole thing so that we are a finished product when we face our first opponents, which is the USA.
All right. Would do a detailed discussion into what exactly would be getting out of this World Cup in terms of our performance and where we'd like to see ourselves. But, Joe, I'm very sure that when you watched that game last night, you also had your own thoughts. What were the things that run through your mind after watching that game and after seeing that result?
I think that the exposure of our deficiencies, for me, was very crucial because we all know we can play. I mean, our team, we have capable players who can shine at any time. But we had to look at our deficiencies where we lack, the expertise to be strengthened. And I think we were exposed in the Montenegro game. We were exposed in our game against the Netherlands. And yesterday also we were exposed. And that will do a defensive setup, the way we stabilized our back. And our game against the Dutch team and the Montenegro team and that of yesterday, the defensive setup was different. It's totally different. We've never played with a consistent same players. So I think that would be my worry. I think that with our midfield, we have some of the strongest players, in the midfield that we can compare to other teams. But when it comes to our defensive setup, I don't think we have that. And we lack the experience of players past, like the John Mensah and John Pentels in our back. So I was really looking out for that. And I didn't see that stabilization as much as I wanted to see. And these friendly games do bring out the best and the worst out of our teams. And like Nana rightly said, we have some rough edges that we need to straighten or to smoothen out. And these games do bring out those things. So I know the technical staff is working really, really hard to make it happen. What I observed also from our squad was how to defend against set pieces. Because we don't have big players. No, if I say big players, I'm talking about structure-wise. We don't have big, tall players to defend us like the Vorsas. So the ones we have here, I think the tallest player in our team, a field player who is tall, I think is Kevin. Kevin and John Boy, they are the tallest lads we have. So I was watching the game yesterday, and the goal that the Koreans scored on us, I thought was a clean goal. Why the referee didn't take it, I had no idea. But that is one of our deficiencies, and I think if we look at how to defend them really, really well, I think it will take us a step further in the competition. Because if you meet teams like Portugal and the US and Germany, they are scouting us like we are scouting them. And if they see the weaknesses that we have, they will pounce on that. So I think that will be the place that we are going to work on really, really hard.
All right, let's backtrack a little bit and talk about the start period. Start period being when Ghana qualified for the World Cup and all the issues that followed immediately. One of them was the issue of cost. The cost of taking part in the World Cup. So many figures were bandied around. Eventually, the final figures came out. First of all, Nana, from your point of view, do we need to discuss how much it's going to cost us to take part in the World Cup?
I think we do, because there's a level of accountability that should be there. The national team is for all of us. It's a national assignment for and on behalf of 25 million people. It's not an assignment that the GFA is taking on solely for the Ghana Football Association, or the ministry is taking on solely for the Ministry of Youth and Support of Sport. At the end of the day, if the Black Stars are successful, it brings down a lot of tension that there is at the moment because of the austerity measures that are in place. And so the government place a high premium on backing the Stars. And they should place a high premium on being accountable and encouraging the Ghana Football Association to also be accountable. So there is a need to discuss, what type of resources are going in. And I think it's equally important to discuss it because, when we look at the fact that we've participated on 2 separate occasions with whopping amounts of money going in, the money that came back, we've not even put $1 into growing 1 blade of grass. There's been no reinvestment in Colts football, in youth football, in any way, shape or form. There's been no investment in second tier or third tier football, or indeed even the Premier League. And I think that's because no one has been held to account. It's just been an issue of the ministry is giving a loan to the GFA. They go there, they chalk up some success, they come back with 15 or 16 million, they give it back to the ministry, and that's the end of it. And that should be where it just begins. It shouldn't be the end. That is where we need the investment, because Joe was talking about us missing the experience. But I don't have a problem with that, because how did those players get the experience in the first place? They were given the opportunity. Now, if we're investing in youth football, in coach football, we will be grooming players, because we recognise that the Mensahs and the Painstills and the Essiens and the Muntaris can't play forever. So we'll be nurturing and developing new talent, so that by the time these players are fading out, we have young, new talent bursting on the scene. But we haven't done that. And so I think it's appropriate for us to discuss the money, because, let's face it, we don't trust the people who administer the money. We don't trust them now. We don't trust them.
Why don't we trust them?
Because the track record is there to show that, money has not been wisely spent. Money has not been wisely managed.
Spending $9 million on the FIFA World Cup is...
It's not exorbitant. It's not exorbitant. That's not exorbitant, and I can accept that. But we've gone beyond that in times gone past. And if you can spend 20 million, 4 years ago, and now you come back and spend 9, you wonder, why did you need to spend 24 years ago? And certainly prices have gone up, fuel has gone up, everything has gone up. But we're able to manage on a much smaller budget. Then people start to wonder, well, how can you do that? How is that possible? And once again, that fuels the thought of mistrust and misconstruism and all that kind of stuff. So I think we need to discuss it, and I think that the powers that be need to recognise that they must be accountable to us.
Joe, also from your angle, some time ago, after a while, it was decided that money from the World Cup, some of the money from the World Cup was going to be channeled into other areas, especially in the area of sport. And this was an agreement that was reached by the Ghana FA and, the ministry. Many people had varied opinions on this matter. Some thought the money should have stayed there in football development, because football still has its problems. Others thought it was welcome, because obviously they belong to the other disciplines which have been suffering a lot of lack of financing for some time.
Well, it's all good if the money is coming in to improve sports, but we have a Ministry of Youth and Sports. We don't have a Ministry of Football. And if money is coming from government to the Ministry of Youth and Sport, it should be dispersed to all sporting disciplines. If money is coming from football, then it should develop football. That's what I think. That's my personal opinion. I could be wrong. But we have women's football, we have youth football, we have so many football categories to the national level. I've been to the Ghanaman School of Excellence, and for me, I think it's appalling what they have over there. You can't compare that to developing countries like even Nigeria or Ivory Coast. If you go to the academies that they have for the national team and you compare it to what we have at Ghanaman, it's a shame.
What does Ghanaman lack?
I took a coaching course there, the CAF License A. We took there, and we were supposed to be there. It was in-house course, so you had to sleep there. And for most of us, we were on the second or third floor, and we couldn't get running water. Common running water, we couldn't get it. So you had to come down, fetch a bucket of water, and carry it up. That's a problem. Because if I have that, compared to me living in Tema, which is like 20 kilometers away, where I have the luxury of living home, I'd rather be home. I won't be there. That's one factor. The other thing is the fields. I went to Tom Vernon's academy in Akosomo, Right to Dream. And what I saw there was amazing. The fields he has is not compared to anything we have as Ghanaians. It's unbelievable. He has 8 fields, fully grassed, leveled fields, which we can train on. What do we have in Ghana? You go and you see patches of grass somewhere. We don't even have a turf field. It's appalling. It doesn't look like the Ghana we know. Fortunately for us, Ghanaians don't mind that. I grew up playing on gravel field with barefoot. And then I was playing professional football for 16 years. So I persevered. But we've grown from that. And money has come out of football. And that money should be used to develop football. And that's my take on that. It's very bad for you to go there and see fields that are not, qualified to be fields, where the national team is based. Our under-20 team is there. Our women's team is there. Our under-17 team is there. And when you go there and you have camera, I want you to sit back. You see these ladies, after training, carrying buckets of water upstairs to where they are. That's unacceptable. So money should be used to make those places comfortable for our national team. If we are going to call it our national team homes, we should make it comfortable.
So it means that as the situation stands now, the Black Stars cannot camp at the Ghanaman Soccer Center of Excellence.
There is no way the Black Stars will come there. The Black Stars don't want a 3-star hotel. They want a 5-star hotel. Ghanaman Hotel is a 0-star. The Black Stars will never come there. And that's why the Black Stars never go there. The youth teams go there because they don't have a choice. The Black Stars will never come there. They don't have field to train. They don't have comfortable rooms to be in. There's no air conditioning in the rooms. I've been there. And that's why when money comes from FIFA to the FA, we should use that money to develop those places for football. The sports ministry is there to get money from the government to improve quality of sports in other disciplines. They don't need the football money to develop them. Now, if football says, we've had enough, so we can give you some for you to develop, that's fine. But has football developed theirs? That's the question.
Yeah. You see, the thing about it, Nat, I mean, I'm happy he came up with this example because I was saying to you that, I was alluding to you that there's this feeling of a lack of trust when the powers that be have money. Now, the Ghana Football Association took this from the FIFA Gold Project.
Exactly.
A total waste of money. We've played the fanfare, the Ghana Mine School of Excellence and whatever, blah blah blah. But
we've seen various stages of the development of that facility, and I was expecting that at least it was somewhere where we could always refer to as being a ground where the teams prepare, where we have some technical knowledge transfer and all of that.
Well, it's not. It's not. Sure, they did the course there and all that. Fine, no problem. But as he said, the pitches that are there are dangerous. Most of the pitches in Ghana are dangerous, and no one should go on them and play football. The pitches at the Ghana Mine School of Excellence are dangerous. They're not fit for people to play football, and they would never tell the Ghana Black Star players to go there. The Ghana Black Star players would stick their fingers up to that one and tell them, we are not going there. And if it's compulsory, then goodbye, see you later. You can never tell those Ghana Black Star players to go there. They couldn't even suggest it, even in their the very wildest of dreams.
So for you, we've not managed that facility well.
We've squandered the money. We've squandered the money. He's told you about Akosombo, and you can go also to where Red Bull had their academy. They've sold it now to Feyenoord. Fantastic. Fantastic. So why can these Europeans come into our country and make Ghana look like the United Kingdom, and we've got our own land here, and every time we have to make it look like Bola? Why? Why is that? Because we don't manage the money well. We're not interested in long-term development. We're not really interested, we're not committed to the development of football in this country, and we don't have an idea anyway. We do not have an idea. I mean, I love Otie Kentin to the bone, and he's a technical director, but I don't see what he's directing. And, I've heard that the Ghana Football Association don't give him the room to operate as a technical director. Well, okay, that might be the case, but at the end of the day, the buck stops with him. And I don't see that there's any technical direction in our football whatsoever. None at all. None at all.
I see. All right. So how come that we're able to, over 12 years, continue qualifying for the World Cup? Is it that we just have the talent and we're just always lucky to have material there?
It's the eighth wonder of the world. It's the eighth wonder of the world. You know, and the thing about it is, as I said to you, as a population, we're quite naive. So once we qualify and then qualify again, we chalk that up as being successful. And all that we need to be doing to maintain that success, it's not going on, but we don't look at that because we're here again at another Mondial, and that means you being successful. And when you look at the background, Colts football dead, third-tier football dead, second-tier football dead. We played a Premier League half the season without no sponsor. We've not even gone back to Glow and brought them to court and said, you owe us 5 or 6 or 7 million US dollars. It's as though they're just going to get away with it. They owe about 7 million US dollars to these clubs that have been playing in the Ghana Premier League. They should be in court. It should be one of the biggest court cases going, with a huge settlement out of court, because Glow don't want to be in a situation where the telecommunications that they're providing all of a sudden becomes unpatronised, because we decide we're not going to use your service because of what you've done to our football league. But nothing's happening. They're not doing anything. No one's doing anything.
I'll give you a story that I had with Tom Vernon. I was asking him.
And Tom Vernon is in charge of the Right to Dream Academy.
Yes,
a former Manchester United scout.
Yeah, I asked him, how did you come about this field, this, forest? How did you get it? And he told me, Joe, I only needed 2 things. I needed a place where I can have constant water supply and a place where I can have electricity. Where is our electricity? It's in Akosombo. And where is our biggest water supply? He thought about this and went there. And you have to go there.
I've been there. I've seen all of that.
It's amazing. And because of that,
I do agree with you.
He's not playing any league. But he has sponsors. He has companies sponsoring him. And these are companies who are working here in Ghana. You don't think with the brand that the FA has, with all this hoopla, people are just throwing money to the FA because we're going to the World Cup. You don't think a sponsor will come in and say, oh, you have a good facility, so I'll help you develop it.
But you know why? They trust Tom. They trust that the money that they give to Tom will be utilised in the areas that he says it's going to be utilised. But they don't trust us. They don't trust us. And so they won't assist us in developing our facilities.
All right. So, there are obviously many issues there in the background, but one way or the other, the Black Stars are able to qualify for the World Cup. Now, in rounding up this bit of the discussion, are we going to see a period, if we keep running on and on like this and preparing ourselves for the World Cup every time, pushing all the resources in there and coming back to sit down, as you're putting it, then do we get to a point where we will find it difficult qualifying for the World Cup? Because clearly it's difficult there at the lower tier where we have developmental football at the coach level. It's not as vibrant as it used to be. So are we heading towards a time when it will become difficult to qualify for the World Cup?
You know what? Nana says something. He says it's the 8th wonder of the world. How we qualify for the World Cup, I have no idea, to be honest with you. During the times before my time and during my time, I thought that the players we had were very, very good and we could have gone to the World Cup. Well, we never did. These guys are. They're good, but these guys are there. And we can argue about that, comparing them to us. But we never had the opportunity. These guys are there and they've been there 3 times. How they get there with all these problems is the 8th wonder of the world he's talking about. Sometimes it's mind-boggling. I don't understand how our youth team just won the World Cup. 5 years ago?
2009, yeah.
2009, they won the World Cup. From where? We don't have a coach team. We don't have a second under-20 team, which I was developed from. We don't have it. But they still went there, and surprisingly, they won the World Cup. So it's a very difficult question to answer. How we get there, I don't know. I don't know. Although we're having all these problems, for some reason we just persevere and we go. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't develop it. I think we should. And I think we should have people in places. Look, there are a lot of people like me, people who have played in Europe, who are back in Ghana. With our European or worldwide experience or expertise, we can help develop the game here. But nobody is contacting us. Nobody is coming to you. And You'll be foolish for you to go there and say, oh, I can help you in this and this manner. They would think you are coming for money.
I see.
And we're here.
Obviously, many thoughts to share on this subject and more, especially when we discuss Ghana at the FIFA World Cup Brazil 2014. After that, we'll be getting into the qualification process, some of the major lessons we should pick from that qualification process, the whole Ghana-Egypt episode, and how we eventually booked the final qualification. And then we'll also get into the angle of performance at the FIFA World Cup, where Ghana is looking forward to improving on the quarterfinal performance that was recorded in South Africa 2010. So a round of commercials, and we continue with the discussions here on this show. All right, so thank you very much for keeping it here on the show PM Express on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. We're discussing the FIFA World Cup, and here with me in the studio are ex-Ghana international Joe Addo, and of course seasoned analyst and coach Nana Kweku Ajiman. All right, gentlemen, let's now talk about the qualification process. Obviously, we had gone through this 2 previous times. There were the major hurdles in Zambia and and Egypt, who are the most successful nation on the African continent when it comes to the African trophy. For you, what were the biggest lessons that we learned, or we should have learned from that whole qualification process where we had to come across a Zambia and an Egypt to qualify?
For me, and that's where I think the coach should be congratulated, because when we lost our first game in Zambia, we had to win all our games, our remaining games, to have a chance of playing in a one-off game. And for us to have won every single game after the Zambia game, I think is a credit to the coach, and the players. We did that, and then we came to play this new thing that is introduced in Africa, which I don't think is fair, but we have to go through the like you said, the most decorated team in Africa, in Egypt, to go to the World Cup. I think I give the players and the technical staff a lot of credit, because I didn't think we would be able to do it, to be honest with you. Because winning every single game, we played against Sudan home and away. We had already lost to Zambia, so we needed them to come here and lose to us. Then Lesotho, we had to play them home and away. And then, winning all those games meant we would play Egypt in those balloting things that came our way. And we beat Egypt convincingly to go to the World Cup. So I think it was very good on the technical staff and also on the playing body for us to get to, where we got to, where we are now. It wasn't an easy thing. I don't know. I think we persevered to get there. That's what I would say. I think as good as our team was, I think we persevered to get there, because these boys wanted to get there so bad. We've been there twice already, and we wanted to get there for a 3rd time. And I think we did that out of very, very difficult circumstances, but we did it.
All right. Talk about circumstances. How did you take it immediately Ghana drew against Egypt for the home and away fixture, which was the last round of playoffs for the World Cup?
Well, can I just take it back slightly? Because I think the biggest lesson that I learned was that we were in transition. And when I say that we were in a transition, if my memory serves me right, we used over 50 players to qualify for this World Cup. And we used over 50 players because at the time there were the issues about the experienced players, the Mensahs, the Painstools, the SCNs, the Sullies, and all those experienced players that we're depending on from 2006 come 2010. And because of a lack of planning, we were actually flustered. So we were just throwing the net out there and dragging in players and trying to assemble them and get them prepared so that we could actually qualify. And for me, the biggest lesson that I learned was that we failed to prepare. And we failed to prepare by not investing in local players and in local leagues in order to ensure that we have, players rolling off the belt, so to speak, so that we could slot them in there. But when we withdrew against Egypt, I was worried. There's no two ways about that, because I knew the pedigree of the Egyptian team. And I thought, well, this was a test that's going to take us too far. And when we got the home leg first, well, I knew that there were things that we could do to try and ensure that we got the victory, but I didn't anticipate that it would be by 6-1. I thought perhaps 2-1, 3-1, and even then, I didn't think that 3-1 would be enough. We played our hearts out, in fact, and I give a lot of credit to the 12th man, which was that packed stadium in Kumasi, because you could hardly expect to fail with like almost 50,000 people in there cheering you on and wanting you to be successful. So I thought we wouldn't. I didn't think we would overcome that hurdle, but we did overcome that hurdle, and we went to Egypt. It was a foregone conclusion. I mean, I was there, and you know, the Egyptians played well, and we seemed to have lost it, that momentum, that fluidity, the desire, you know, to even win that game. We didn't have it in Egypt at all, but we were only defeated by 2-1, and we all knew that would be insufficient, and so we qualified.
As we went ahead, many issues came up. The one bugging one that sometimes rears its head a bit too often is player indiscipline. We remember the episode with, so many episodes, including that where Suleiman Tari got livid after he was substituted. Going ahead, how do we manage the egos of big-name players? You've been there before. You've been a highly rated player who plays in the Black Stars team. How do we handle the egos of these big-name stars who play in the national team, especially at this time when the people have gotten used to the idea of having an indigenous Ghanaian coach?
I think it has to do with managing skills at the top level. And when you go into coaching courses, they teach you how to manage players. It's part of the course. And with me, I have a degree in business administration, so it's like a managerial skill they teach you in coaching. You learn how to manage egos in camp. If the players don't respect you, you will never succeed. You will never succeed. They will roll by you. You know, when you tell them something, they won't listen. I've watched the way our coach has handled some of the situations in camp. I saw the way he handled Andre when Andre did that in Zambia, and I also saw how he went about his decision with Sule when Sule did that with him. He never came up publicly to say anything or ridicule any of the players. It was handled in the back burner. I don't know how it was handled, but the players seem to have come back and are playing. And there was no explanation given to any of us as to how it was managed. But I'm saying all this to say that if you're a head coach of a team and you lose the respect of your players, it's very difficult for you to succeed because the players will revolt against you.
Now, is it not more of a cultural thing or something that we're gradually accepting so that the expatriate is not here? They know that the expatriate clearly earns a whole lot of money, better than some of them who play outside of the country. Therefore, when they come home and they're told to move to the left, they move. They're told to move opposite, they do so.
I don't buy that notion at all, not one bit, because what the expatriate can do, the local coach can do that too. And what I'm saying is for you to command the team. If you come in timidly, that they make more money than you, so who knows how much money you make anyway? You know, with this squad that we have, if we say people make money, who makes money on it? I can mention 2 or 3 players who make more money than the coach. What about the rest of them? And those 2 players we can live without. So for me, if you're a coach, if I was there, I'll command the respect of the players. I don't care how much money I make. A lot of coaches and players in big teams make more money than their coaches. But you don't see them revolting or disrespecting the coach. Ancelotti doesn't make more money than Ronaldo. But Ronaldo is being coached by Ancelotti. And he knows the purpose of Ancelotti to win the Champions League. And he did. You know, so players are there to be commanded. And if you are a manager, your job is to make sure that what you say to the players, they listen to it. You know, and we've lost track of that. We get these expatriates who come, and some of them don't even speak English. But these players respect them. Why? You know, there's a guy who speaks our language, speaks our dialect, and some players will not respect him. Then the blame should not be placed on the player. The blame should be placed on the coach. Because you have to come there and command the respect of the locker room. And I think Coach Kwesi Appiah has done that in some part, you know, some of his decisions, which, well, of course, I don't agree with, but I accept it. That if a player is wrong, you have to call the player, sit him down, and tell him he's wrong. If there's a punishment to be taken, you take the punishment, or you give him the punishment. He never did any of that. Nobody knows what happened behind the scenes. We all heard that the apology letter was written by Andre, and he said, if you think I made a mistake, then I'm sorry, and all that. And Sule, we didn't hear anything about Sule. No, this thing should never happen. If you are a manager, nobody in English national team had a say when Capello was the coach. You dare not speak. You dare not. Although some of them made more money than him, but they were scared of him because he managed it very well. And that's what we lack. We all think that if he's an indigenous coach, we won't listen to him. No, that's not true. You can get a coach who can command that dressing room. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care about your contribution. You think you make more money than me? Okay, sit down. You're not going to play. Let's see who makes more money then. Those are some of the things we need in the team. And I think we are getting there. I think some of these young lads look up to the coach and respect what he brings to the table. And we should continue that trend rather than thinking about somebody who makes more money than you. So if you speak, it's not right. No. There was something I read in the newspaper or saw in the newspaper when we went to Netherlands that I did not like. I saw a player bring his car to the training to the camp. I don't think it's acceptable or was acceptable, but he was there. There were pictures taken. We all saw it. You know, that's where a coach comes in or a manager comes in. And
so you think that the whip must be cracked even harder in these times to set a precedence?
You have to be there to take control. You have to make sure nobody does anything beyond, behind you, or nobody goes beyond your decision. If I say no car, no car. If I say sleep here, you sleep. I'm the coach. I'm not trying to be authoritative, or I'm not trying to be a headline on you or anything. I'm trying to groom this team for us to go and play or perform well at the World Cup. So I'll groom you to be there. When you leave my premises, you can do whatever you want. You want to buy aeroplane and show it to whoever you want to show it to. But when you are in my camp, you don't bring the aeroplane to the camp. It's as simple as that. And when I saw that, I was appalled by that, by the way. I did not like it. And there was a player who even took picture of that. You know, it doesn't speak well for us. But I know he has been taken care of. I know the coaches have spoken about it, and hopefully they are moving beyond that. But
well, the coach told him to get the car out of the camp.
Did he?
Yes, he did. He told him to get the car out of the camp. There was no room for that car in the camp, and he had to move the car. I mean, what did you need the car there for? What did you need it for? You're already in camp. You bought a new car. You've painted it as if it's a military car, sprayed it as if it's a military car, and you've got someone to drive it to the camp. To do what? You know, but that's Sully for you. You know, his ego is overbloated.
We had a residential camping here where you could show anything you want. You could bring your, if you had your
helicopter.
You could bring it. We had it here, so you could do that. You don't do it when we are in camp. Once we go to camp, everything is different. And that's where the managerial skill of a coach comes in. That's where you take charge.
But I think he has managed the egos of the players very well.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
I think he has done so. Because, you know, it's not easy. It's not easy managing the egos of the players. But I think he's commanded the respect. I think he's managed the egos. And I think where players may think they have one up on him, it's because they know that he doesn't have that depth of experience on the touchline, because they know there are issues about his competence in terms of reading the games and substitutions. Those things are still there. Those things are still there. And some players may think, well, you know, he didn't read the game well, or my coach in wherever I play, blah, 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 blah. So some players may snigger. One or two of them may get together and say, oh, well, you know, he didn't do this right or what have you, because they've got better experiences and they've worked with coaches that have a deeper knowledge of the game. That's fine, because he's learning. He's deep inside a learning curve, and he will one day come out of it. And the coaches that they refer to, who they see have got that experience, they were once in that learning curve as well, and they've come out of it. So I'm not worried about that, because you must go through that process. But I think overall he's managed the egos. It's about him having the ability to tell players that this is the role I want you to play, this is the way I want you to play it, and I want you to stick to that unless I tell you to change. And I'll give you an opportunity. There's a window where you improvise only if a certain set of circumstances prevail. Other than that, you stick to what I show you.
All right, let's get into the details of some of the groups that will be playing, with focus obviously on Group G, where we have the biggest interest. Ghana, Portugal, Germany, USA. Let's begin with the US business. You have played, you have lived in the United States of America for some time now. Knowing that the level of interest in football in the US is rising, does this push them in any way? Does this push the US national team in any way to perform above themselves against Ghana?
Well, they brought Klinsmann in because the previous coaches have not gotten them to where they want to be, because they've invested a lot of money to develop football. You know, they call it soccer, but they've invested so much money in the game. And they've gotten results. You know, they've qualified for the World Cup consecutively so many times from their group. Not as difficult as ours, but they've qualified. And they are looking to avenge what has happened to them twice with Ghana. You know, when you look at 06, in the group stages, they lost to us by a mistake from their captain, Claudio Reyna, who took a ball, wanted to dribble, the ball was taken by Dramani, boom, goal. And then in 010, same mistake in the middle, Ricardo Clark, who I played with in New York, took the ball, wanted to dribble, Kevin got the ball, boom, goal. This time around, they are limiting their mistakes. But the US have a problem that we also have. They have a defensive problem. Their middle of the field and offensive players, excellent. Excellent. They are players who can run the whole 120 minutes, 90 minutes. They can run and not get tired. Michael Bradley, Jermaine Jones, Kyle Beckerman, these guys can run. And they can play. They're good players. Kyle Beckerman is one of the best players in the MLS, Major League Soccer. Michael Bradley was one of the top players in Roma just this season. Now he's moved back to the United States. And Jermaine Jones plays at Schalke with Kevin Boateng. Regular player on the team. He's a German born, but with American parents. So these three-man midfield run a lot. They do a lot of work in the middle, chasing the balls, going to tackles, winning balls. And the good thing they do for them is they are box-to-box players, what Michael Essien used to be. They can stay with you in their defensive half, come with you in the middle, and also be in your attacking third. And that's why Michael Bradley has been scoring so many goals. So they have good quality players, better than the ones that we beat them, the 010 and 06. So this time around, they are very, very wary. And they have in them a German coach who has been at the World Cup before, who revolutionized the German team that we have now. He did that.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah, his assistant is now, and he has beaten them. Yeah. This year, he played against the US played against Germany, and the US won in Germany. So they have a lot going for them. And for them, they think the first game against us is their biggest game. Hence, they came to watch our game in Miami. Klinsmann was there.
All right.
I think that, the USA for me is Germany. I think that's the second Germany. And, to bolster what Joe has been saying, look, they've got a top goal scorer in the MLS, Landon Donovan. They've sacked him. Jurgen Klinsmann has sacked him, told him, you go away. Yes, you've scored the most goals in the MLS, but I'm not interested in that because I've got a squad here that can match you boot for boot. And he's taken 5 of the players, Joe has mentioned one of them, from Germany, 5 youngsters. 5 youngsters. He's brought 5 German-based players. They play in the Bundesliga week in, week out. They're now part of the squad. And he's brought in other players from the MLS, young players. They're freshmen. They're in the squad. And he's blended them. He has blended them. He's made them a winsome side. So for me, these players and this team are not thinking, oh, Ghana beat us in 2010, Ghana beat us in 2006.
They're bringing their A game on, obviously.
Yeah, they're saying we've never been beaten by Ghana. Because they've not.
I see.
Those players have never been beaten by Ghana.
All right. It looks interesting that even at this time, nobody's really thinking about USA versus Germany because I think it's going to be one of the biggest games of the group stage.
Yeah, I think it will be one of the biggest games because the players on the German team who were coached by Klinsmann did not like him. There was a book written by Philipp Lahm, and I read the book, and it was obvious that he did not get along with Klinsmann.
Why wasn't he getting along, if I may ask?
I think he said the training regimen by Klinsmann wasn't acceptable because they were doing too much running, they weren't doing too much tactics. But that's his opinion. You know, I thought they played better then with Klinsmann than they're doing now. But that's Philipp Lahm's opinion, and I think most of the German players did agree with him for some reason. I don't know. Bastian Schweinsteiger, who he plays with the Bayern, agreed with him on so many of the instances he made. But I think Klinsmann changed their perspective because most Germans like to play in Germany. They don't like to travel. I played there, so I know. Klinsmann played in Italy and also in England. So he had, and lived in the US. So he had different perspective as to how Germans thought of the game. And he brought that when he was hired as a coach. And most Germans who are used to the routine way of the German way did not like that. But it's helped them now.
Now, tell me about how we will manage those egos that we'll be confronted with, those big names. Because I was having a chat with the first psychologist of the Black Stars at the World Cup in 2006, and he was telling me that aside the fact that the Black Stars players were starstruck against Brazil, you know, in 2006, they had lost focus, concentrating on tickets that were to be bought for their wives and their girlfriends. How do we overcome, you know, the pedigree of Germany, the pedigree of a certain Cristiano Ronaldo within a Portugal team as we go ahead?
You don't. You don't. Because you see, at the end of the day, everybody knows the guy's Ballon d'Or. Everybody knows the Germans play intense football, they're swift, they're quick, they know their pedigree, they're favourites to win the World Cup. You don't. You must go out there with your own game plan, your own strategy, your own tactic, try and remain focused, try and concentrate on the job, and hopefully get the 3 points.
Now, Joe, getting into this tournament, we've got 5 African countries, Ghana one of them. If you had to choose 2 African nations that you think will do well and make a major impact, which 2 will they be? And what are your reasons?
I would say Ghana and Nigeria.
Why?
Ghana, because I'm a patriot, so I want us to do well. I think our group is difficult, but I'm hoping that we'll do well, because in the last World Cup, we did well. We went to the quarterfinals, almost made it to the semifinal. So I'm hoping that we do well this time around. Nigeria, because I think their preparations have been good, and they have an indigenous coach who the players respect. And out of all the friendly games they've played, they've only lost 1. That was just recently against the US. So I think they've prepared well. They want to. Nigeria is the biggest black nation in the world, and we have 25 million coaches. They have over 100 million coaches. So I think the pressure on them is big, and I think the players want to live up to expectations. They won the Cup of Nations. They are going there as the African champions, and I think they and Ghana will make Africa proud.
All right, and also away from the African bracket, when you look at all the superpowers, some say it's the time for Germany, some say Spain not looking too good, some say it's an Argentina World Cup. Who do you see emerging out of all of these superpowers, if I may put it that way?
Well, it's very difficult to say, but I tell you who I do fancy, and that's Belgium. Funnily enough, they're my rank outsiders. When you look at the rest, I think Brazil are the favourites, and I would like to think that Brazil will go all the way to the final, because that would make the World Cup the World Cup. Yeah. So I'd like to think that they'd go all the way, but I fancy Belgium.
Gentlemen, it's been great sharing your company this evening, and I wish we had more time to go even deeper into some of the issues. But thank you very much. I do value the time that you spent with us. Thank you very much for joining us here on the show on PM Express tonight on this special edition, which has been discussing the FIFA World Cup and Ghana's participation. It's 48 hours away. You say a prayer for the Black Stars as they come up against the United States of America, and hopefully we will come back here to discuss a success story after the group stages of Brazil 2014. Joining me in the studio tonight have been Joe Addo Jr., Joe Addo, Joe Addo, who is an ex-Ghana international, and of course Nana Jiman, coach and football analyst. So we'll be back same time tomorrow. Thank you very much once again. Thanks to the whole production team. Always keep it here on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. My name is Nathaniel Atto.